When I heard that there was no Emergency Operations Centre and no co-located emergency precinct, I knew from what people were telling me, we need better power, we need better communications. We had to get this centre up and running. Along with my colleagues, we have been campaigning hard to make sure we get a full Emergency Services Management Centre located right here in Moruya. People tell me they want to feel safer. That means better communications, better power, and working together to ensure that people can be as safe as possibly can be. So I'm delighted to be here today. I'm going to hand over to Anthony Albanese to make the announcement.
We welcome the fact that a couple of days ago there was an announcement, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to do what is necessary. Surely in this we need to do it once and do it right. And we need to do that in order to pay tribute as well to our emergency service workers, to our volunteers in the RFS, in the SES. They deserve more than just our thanks and our respect. They deserve our commitment as governments to do what is required to assist them. Just like at the moment we're giving thanks to our healthcare workers during the pandemic, the workers and volunteers who made contributions during that crisis did an incredible job. And today also I do want to remind people of the announcement that we made in Queensland just a week ago. The federal government established an emergency response fund some 3 years ago. The emergency response fund took money that was allocated for infrastructure by the former Labor government in the Building Australia Fund and the Education Investment Fund, and they put it in, $4 billion into the emergency response fund. And they said that of that fund there'd be $200 million expended each year, $150 million on recovery and $50 million on mitigation and disaster preparedness. Of that, no money has been expended on disaster preparedness. Not a single project has been funded and delivered. Indeed, that fund of $4 billion is now worth over $4.7 billion because it's got $750 million of interest and just $17 million expended. It is just extraordinary and says everything about the failure of this government to be competent, the failure for it to match up its promises with then delivery when it comes to this funding. The idea that we don't need to prepare in this nation of ours for fires, for floods, for cyclone readiness is just extraordinary. And that's why we would, with our Disaster Ready Fund, commit up to $200 million each and every year for projects that will make a difference in terms of mitigation, that will prepare for disasters, be they fires or floods or cyclones or other natural disasters. In this country of ours, which unfortunately does have this occur from time to time. We know that if you actually act early, you'll save money as well, but most importantly, you'll save lives, which is what Labor's program is aimed at. I'd ask Chris Minns, my friend, the New South Wales Labor leader, to make some comments as well.
Thanks, Anthony. It's wonderful to be here with you and, of course, with Fiona, Kristy and Michael Holland, Dr. Michael Holland, who's Labor's candidate in the upcoming Bega by-election. Look, this is an important announcement and a necessary one for this community that's gone through so much over the last 2 years. It's been 2 years since the devastating bushfires came through the New South Wales South Coast. This was a key recommendation of the Royal Commission and the Commission of Inquiry into the bushfires in New South Wales, an Emergency Operations Centre and an Emergency Operations Precinct so you can co-locate those first responders and also the leadership of those particularly important services and departments. So in times of crisis, they're in one location and they can make decisions quickly. As I said, this was a key recommendation of those inquiries. We believe it will save lives. It's been 1 year since the recommendation was handed down. We need to get on with it. Now, we acknowledge the New South Wales Government's pledge of last week in the lead up to the by-election, but we believe this should be a precinct that includes the RFS, Fire and Rescue New South Wales, the SES and the leadership from police, and also telecommunications very important in making sure that fireground first responders can talk with each other, whether it's for aerial support or extra resources on the ground. That's the recommendation from the Royal Commission. We need to crack on and get it done. So New South Wales Labor will pledge $20 million to get this project up and running, an emergency operations centre and an emergency operations precinct.
Good afternoon, everyone. During the time of the Black Summer bushfires, I was the Mayor of Bega Valley. In my time as Mayor of Bega Valley, I was a Mayor at the time. We had 9 declared natural disasters. 3 bushfire events in March 2018, August 2018, and then the Black Summer bushfires, and obviously a number of flood events. Any response from emergency management requires good communication, and that's made even harder when telecommunications are down and we don't have any power. So the announcement today goes a long way to making sure that regardless of the conditions that are surrounding you at a time of a natural disaster, you are able to have quick, important conversations between emergency services. A co-located precinct means decisions are made in protection of your community quickly, that there won't be a long time between setup of an emergency operations centre and its operation. The benefit that I had as Mayor of Bega Valley at the time was that we were able to coordinate in a room within a matter of an hour to get all of those emergency services located in one room, to have conversations about how we can best protect our community, what we would need to do from a media point of view, who was the lead agency, and how we would communicate our message to people going through the toughest of times at that particular moment. The announcement made today by both New South Wales and federal Labor means that we take seriously what we've heard, what we've gone through, what we've seen over the Black Summer bushfires. The most disappointing part of the last 2 years is that the lived experience of these communities has not been listened to by the government. There has been no action on any of the recommendations, no advice, no precedent given to what people went through. This shows Labor is serious about resilience and mitigation, because every community I speak to tells me that the most important thing for them is what we are going to do for the next natural disaster. This announcement today shows how serious we are about listening to communities, taking into account what they're telling us. And after the Black Summer bushfire, we need to be listening to communities about what they need going forward. So a huge congratulations to New South Wales and federal Labor for listening to local communities. Thank you to our emergency service guys who have been lobbying for this, the Erebodalla Shire Council. And I don't think that there is a week that goes by where Fiona and I aren't getting text messages or emails from people in these communities, from the local council, telling us what needs to be done to make us more resilient into the future. This announcement, again, shows that we listen to the people who live here, because we represent them, and what they are telling us is this is what they want now and into the future.